everybody. Thank you for your response. Always appreciated. So my name is Wendell Pritchett, and we are here today to vote on the names that we will submit to the mayor for him to choose from when he appoints members of the Board of Education. We are also going to discuss the process that we, the Education Nominating Panel, took to review applications, conduct interviews, and deliberate on candidates for the Board of Education. We are going to invite public comment before we vote.
You want to move one over?
Yeah, please.
Sorry.
How are you? So check.
Check 1, 2.
All right. All right. All right, good. So I'd first like to call this meeting of the panel to order and note the presence of a quorum of the panel in attendance. And actually, I'm going to invite everybody to introduce themselves, starting with Mr. Vereen.
Hello, my name is Sean Vereen, President of Stepping Stone Scholars.
Hi, my name is Michael Mullins, Secretary-Treasurer of Unite Here Local 274.
Hi, I'm Ivy Olesh, Executive Director of Playworks.
Hello, I'm Darren Mangum, Director of Institutional Giving for Opera Philadelphia.
Hi, I'm Mara McCarthy. I'm the Executive Director of the Fairmount Park Conservancy.
Hello, I'm Peter Gonzalez, President and CEO of the Welcoming Center for New Pennsylvanians.
Excellent. Thank you. And now I'll invite Ms. Pham just to say hello.
Hello, Kimberly Pham.
Thank you. All right, welcome. So the first order of business for the panel will be the approval of the minutes of our last meeting on January 8th, 2020. I note that a set of minutes has been circulated. Each member of the panel has a copy of the minutes, and copies are available on the table for anyone else who is in attendance. So are there any questions, panel members, on the minutes? There are no questions. I would like to recognize Sean Vereen for a motion.
Thank you. I move for the approval of the minutes from our meeting on January 8th, 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Vereen. I now recognize Ivy Olesh. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. I second the motion to approve the minutes from our meeting on January 8th, 2020.
Thank you. All those in favor of the approval of the minutes will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes for our meeting on January 8th, 2020 are hereby approved. So now what I'd like to do is give a brief overview of the process we use to determine the potential candidates. The online application portal went live on January 7th, 2020, prior to our panel convening. Additionally, paper copies of the form were available in City Hall as well as at the school district headquarters. The original deadline set for both of these forms was January 22nd, but in order to allow ample time for all interested candidates to apply, the nominating panel extended the deadline to February 4th, 2020. During the 4 weeks the application period was open, over 50 candidates submitted their applications. Each panel member then reviewed every single application individually and ranked candidates on a very basic scale to help narrow the field of candidates to a smaller list to interview. Each candidate was given an average score based on all nominating panel members' reviews, and the panel discussed the candidates to determine a subset of applicants to interview. We conducted an executive session on Thursday, February 6, 2020 by phone to review candidates for suggested interviews. In the executive session, we engaged in extensive discussion about the large number of highly qualified potential candidates to determine who would move forward for a review. We conducted interviews in groups of 3 to 4 panel members with a diverse slate and interviewed 20 of what seemed to us to be the best candidates. Interviews occurred on Saturday, February 8th, 2020. We crafted standard interview questions based on the 4 key areas: organizational acumen, commitment to education, diversity, inclusion, and community empowerment, and finally, ethics and integrity. Using these key areas as a guide, we were able to narrow down the field further during our last executive session on Saturday, February 8th, 2020. So I believe that we may be close to consensus, but we have not yet decided on any single candidate. We're here today to take a final look and vote on the proposed candidates. All right, so speaking for myself, here are the potential candidates around which I believe we have consensus, and I'm going to read these names. Valerie Adams-Bass, Amin Akbar, Sarah Ashley Andrews, Dawn Ang, Dario Balat, Allison Cohen, Julia Danzy, Susan DeJarnett, Leticia Ahia Hinton, AJ Ernst, Cindy Farlino, Mallory Fix Lopez, Cheryl Harper, Lee Wang, Trey Johnson, Gavin Kierans, Chad Lassiter, Donna Laws, Nina Liu, Royce Bell Maria, Maria McColgan, Chris McGinley, Angela McIver, William Peebles, Andrew Stober, David Thomas, and Joyce Wilkerson. Okay. So let me ask first panel members whether any of you or your immediate family members or your or their businesses could receive or give any private financial benefit from or to any of these people. If so, is there any, or if there's any other reason that you should not discuss or vote on someone, please disclose that publicly now. Does anyone have any potential conflicts that they'd like to disclose?
I would just, with Trey Johnson, cousin, family member.
Thank you. Thank you for disclosing that, Mr. Vereen. Okay, now, so I'd like to go around the table and have each panel member present on these potential candidates that we would like to submit to the mayor and talk about what we hope they would add to the Board of Education. There will be opportunities for other panel members to add comments about the potential candidates as we go around. We will be considering the group of potential candidates as a whole and not merely the qualifications of individuals, of which many are very highly qualified. Then after the brief presentation of the candidates, we'll have time for public comment. I will invite further discussion among the panelists, and then we will vote. So that's how we're going to operate the rest of the meeting. And so with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Olesh for discussion of first candidate.
Thank you. I would like to discuss Dr. Valerie Adams-Bass. Valerie Adams-Bass is a professor and researcher specializing in youth development and education. She lives in Philadelphia and is an assistant professor of youth and social innovation for the Curry School of Education at the University of Virginia. Valerie attended public schools in Philadelphia and earned her master's in education from Temple University and her PhD from the University of Pennsylvania. She has consulted for the United Way of Southeastern Pennsylvania's Center for Youth Development and Foundations Incorporated, and has served as a site and program coordinator for school-based programs through the University of Pennsylvania's Center for Community Partnerships.
Thank you. Would any panel member like to add or discuss Valerie Adams-Bass further? Okay. Very good. We'll turn to the next potential school board nominee, Darren Mangum, who will introduce. Darren.
I would like to discuss Amin Akbar. Amin Akbar is a native Philadelphian and graduate of district schools and has dedicated his career to youth and talent development and fostering positive school experiences for students. Amin worked for 14 years at Youth Build Philadelphia Charter School in various capacities, providing case management, mentoring, and service learning opportunities to returning out-of-school youth. While at Youth Build, Amin led the program's redesign to successfully introduce a restorative approach to school climate and student behavior. He is now a senior associate at Grovider, supporting organizations to develop learning and development strategies. He continues to support youth development as the lead facilitator of Universal Company's Boys to Men program and as an assistant basketball coach at Sankofa Freedom Academy Charter School. Amin earned his BS from Pennsylvania State University.
Thank you, Ms. Mangum, Mr. Mangum. Would any panel member like to discuss or add anything to Mr. Mangum's description of Amin Akbar? Thank you. I'll move to Peter Gonzalez.
I'd like to discuss Sarah Ashley Andrews. Sarah Ashley Andrews is a product of Philadelphia Public Schools. She attended W.B. Saul High School before attending undergraduate classes at Bloomsburg University, and eventually earning a Bachelor of Arts in Biblical Studies with a minor in Human Services from Lancaster Bible College. Since returning to Philadelphia, she has been a staunch advocate for living mentally well, managing anger, and educating youth and adults on suicide through in-school programming and partnerships. Sarah Ashley is completing a master's degree in counseling psychology at Lincoln University.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Would any panel member like to add or discuss Sarah Ashley Andrews further? I'll now turn it over to Ms. Kimberly Pham.
I would like to discuss Dawn Ang. As an immigrant from Singapore, Dawn Ang has lived in Philadelphia since 1998. Her oldest son is a recent graduate of Philadelphia Public Schools, and her younger son is currently enrolled in a public school. Dawn has been a fierce supporter of children with special needs, her one son having special needs of his own. She has organized funding and events for various nonprofit organizations, including $2 million in grants and the International Mobius Syndrome Foundation's largest conference to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pham. Would any panel member like to add or discuss Dawn Ang further? Okay. And now turn it over to Mr. Mullins.
Thank you. I'd like to present.
Oh, we got a mic. Yeah. Oh, let's give you this one.
Yeah. Thank you. I'd like to present Dario Bello. Fluent in both English and Spanish, Dario Bello earned his Bachelor of Arts in International Business and his Master's in Business Administration in Argentina, before also taking business classes at the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. Dario has served as finance director of a multi-billion-dollar company, senior finance president of administration for Congreso de Latinos Unidos, and is currently the chief financial officer and chief operating officer at the Pennsylvania School for the Deaf. He also has served various nonprofit organizations, including several public charter schools, the Mayor's Commission on People with Disabilities, and the Cybert Foundation for Poor Boys and Girls.
Thank you, Mr. Mullins. Would any panel member like to add or discuss Dario Bello further? Okay, I'll now turn it over to Maura McCarthy.
Thank you. I'd like to present Allison Cohen. Allison is a proud Philadelphian and a product of public schools. After graduating from the University of Virginia and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, she became a consultant on environmental issues and ultimately co-founded and currently runs Bicycle Transit Systems, a company that leads the nation in deploying and managing urban bike share systems. Allison has experience overseeing large budgets and working with public agencies. She lives with her wife and 3 young children.
Thank you, Ms. McCarthy. Would any panel member like to add or discuss Allison Cohen further? I'll now turn it over to Sean Vereen.
Thank you. I have the privilege of presenting Susan Janarnet. As a Philadelphia resident since 1974 and a Philadelphia public school parent, Susan Janarnet is deeply committed to providing every child with equitable access to a high-quality education. As a law professor at Temple University's Beasley School of Law, Susan has written extensively on school reform and its impact on Philadelphia. She has served as a faculty advisor to Student Discipline Advocacy Service and formally to Temple's Youth Courts Practicum. As a board member of the Education Law Center, Susan has written extensively about the need for integrity, disclosure, and elimination of conflicts of interest within nonprofits. Susan is a graduate of Temple University School of Law and Oberlin College. Her son and daughter both attend district schools.
Thank you, Mr. Vereen. Would any panel member like to add or discuss Susan Janarnet further? I'll now turn it back over to Mr. Mullins.
Thank you. I'd like to present A.J. Ernst. A.J. Ernst has worked in Philadelphia and New Jersey schools for over a decade. He is now Dean of High School Academy for Girard College. A.J. has taught middle school science, served as Director of Culture for Young Scholars Charter School, and is the co-founder of ARIT Preparatory Academy, or ARIT. A.J. currently serves on the board of Young Involved Philly. He's earned his BA from Lafayette College and his Master's in Education from the University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education, where he's finishing his doctorate in education.
Thank you, Mr. Mullins. Would any panel member like to add or discuss A.J. Ernst further? Okay, I'll now turn it back over to Ms. Olesh.
Thank you. I'd like to discuss Cindy Farlino. Cindy Farlino was the principal of Meredith Elementary from 2008 to 2016, and more recently has served as a project manager for the Picasso School-Wide Arts Integration Project. She is actively involved in the School District of Philadelphia's Facility-Led Paint Council. Cindy has experience with the School District of Philadelphia as a parent, teacher, assistant principal, and director of instruction. She earned her BA from Boston University and her Master's in Education from the University of Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Ms. Olesh. Would any panel member like to add or discuss Cindy Farlino further? And I'll turn it back over to Mr. Darren Mangum.
I'd like to present Cheryl Harper. Cheryl Harper attended Philadelphia Public Schools and holds a Bachelor of Science in Education from Cheney University, as well as a master's degree and superintendent's letter of eligibility from Arcadia University. For the Philadelphia School District, Cheryl has served as the Director of Employment Services, Head Start Instructional Facilitator, and School Assistance Team Case Manager. She has also served the Camden School District as the Executive Director of Human Resources and is now the Student Teacher Site Director for Drexel University's Department of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Mangum. Would any panel member like to add or discuss Cheryl Harper further? Thank you. I'll now turn it over to Peter Gonzalez.
I'd like to propose Tremaine Johnson. Tremaine Johnson has lived in Philadelphia for 14 years, has worked in and alongside school systems in various roles for nearly 2 decades. He's currently the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Partner for Catalyst Ed, an education nonprofit. Tremaine has also worked in Camden's education system as the Deputy Director of Jersey Can and as the Board Liaison for the Camden City School District. In Philadelphia, Tremaine served in multiple leadership roles within Teach for America, including Executive Director of Teach for America Greater Philadelphia. Tremaine has worked directly in district and charter schools as an English teacher, program coordinator, grant writer, and director of admissions. He has a Bachelor of Arts from University of Maryland at College Park.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Would any panel member like to add or discuss Tremaine Johnson further? I'll now turn it over to Ms. Kimberly Pham.
I would like to present Gavin Kenney. Gavin Kenney attended Philadelphia Public Schools as a child and has a bachelor's in business management from Penn State University. Now a partner at Riptide Partners, a management consulting business, Gavin has previous leadership and management experience as the vice president for the Madison Square Garden Company, vice president of strategy and business development for Altice USA, and management consultant for Accenture. He is the founder and president of the Philadelphia Catholic League Service Corps and was the executive director of New Leaders Council Philadelphia from 2012 to 2015.
Thank you, Ms. Pham. Would any member like to discuss Gavin Kenney further or add anything? Okay. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Mullins.
Thank you. I'd like to present Chad Lassiter. Chad Lassiter is the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. He earned a Bachelor in Social Work in Charlotte, North Carolina, before receiving his Master's in the same discipline at the University of Pennsylvania. His career began as a school-based therapist at Palumbo Elementary School in Philadelphia. He went on to be a social worker at Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania. In the same organization, he served as a behavioral interventionist and researcher. He's taught at the University of Pennsylvania and Westchester University, and served as the Executive Director of Red Cross House and Recovery for the American Red Cross of Southeastern Pennsylvania. He's also served on various mayoral committees and has been a member of the board of the Community College of Philadelphia, Philadelphia Prison System, and has served on the Mayor's Commission on African American Males.
Thank you, Mr. Mullins. Would any panel member like to add anything or discuss Chad Lassiter further? I'll now turn it over to Mr. Vereen.
Thank you. I'd like to present Dr. Donna Laws. Donna Laws has extensive experience as a legislative staffer in the field of supportive housing services. She is currently a case manager for a transitional housing program and has worked in the U.S. House of Representatives as well as the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. Donna earned her doctoral degree in Human Services Administration and Social Policy Analysis from Walden University, and attended graduate school at Lincoln University after graduating from Temple University. She currently serves as on the Education Committee of the Martin Luther King Jr. Association for Nonviolence, served for 11 years as an executive committee member for the Philadelphia NAACP, and was on the Board of Trustees for Lincoln University from 2010 to 2019.
Thank you, Ms. Vereen. Would any panel member like to add anything or discuss Donna Laws further? I'll now turn it over to Kimberly Pham.
I would like to present Nina Liu. Nina Liu has lived in Philadelphia since 2002 and for over 20 years has been a consultant on affordable housing with specific emphasis on public housing and neighborhood revitalization. The parent of 2 students in district-run schools, Nina served for 4 years as the president of the Bach Martin Home and School Association and was the founder of the Friends of Bach Martin. She is a board member for Community Ventures. Nina has a BBA and a BA from the University of Texas at Austin and a MA in Sociology from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Thank you, Ms. Pham. Would any panel member like to add or discuss Nina Leo further? And I'll turn it over to Ms. Olesh.
Thank you. I'd like to discuss Rosabelle Maria. Rosabelle Maria began her K-12 education in Philadelphia Public Schools. As a first-generation low-income student, she earned dual degrees in international relations and modern languages from Seton Hall University. Her education has taken her to Rabat, Morocco as a student and to Milan, Italy as a U.S. student ambassador. Recently, she served for nearly 2 years as scholarship officer for the Philadelphia Foundation, advancing growth and improvements in the Foundation's scholarship funds and processes. Passionate about supporting other first-generation and low-income students, Rosabelle now has an MPA and a Master's in Education candidate at the University of Pennsylvania, a fellow at the university's Impact Ed program, and a coordinator for the university's Office of Global Support Services.
Thank you. Would any panel member like to add or discuss Rosabelle Maria further? I'll now turn it over to Mr. Mangum.
I would like to discuss William Peebles. William Peebles graduated from Philadelphia Public Schools and has since been involved with public schools as a PTA president, treasurer, volunteer, and general member. He was the program director for the Education Leading to Careers and Training program at the School District of Philadelphia, which helps teen parents complete their high school education. He has also worked as a director of the Diversity Apprenticeship Program and more recently as a contracting officer overseeing career training for 1,300 at-risk youth. He is a member of the Philadelphia Workforce Board and the University of Pennsylvania Economic Inclusion Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mangum. Would any panel member like to add anything or discuss William Peebles further? Now I'll turn it over to Peter Gonzalez.
I'd like to present Andrew Stober. Andrew Stober earned his Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration from Northeastern University before receiving his master's degree in Public Policy from the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. He has served on the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, the Temple University Institute of Survey Research, and the Passyunk Square Civic Association. He was the Director of Strategic Initiatives and Chief of Staff in the Mayor's Office of Transportation and Utilities, and was Vice President of Planning and Economic Development for the University City District before becoming the Manager of Public Partnerships at Waze. His son attends a Philadelphia public school.
Thank you. Would any panel member like to add or discuss Andrew Stober further? Now I'll turn it over to Ms. Pham.
I would like to present Dr. Dave Thomas. Dave Thomas is the Associate Vice President for Strategic Initiatives, Dean for the Division of Access and Community Engagement, and Executive Director for the Institute for Community Engagement and Civic Leadership at Community College of Philadelphia. David's work at CCP over the last decade has created new pathways to college and credit-bearing opportunities for high school students in Philadelphia. David was previously the National Director of School Support Services for Victory Education Partners and is currently an adjunct faculty member at Wilmington University, St. Joseph's University, and Pierce College. David attended Philadelphia Public Schools and earned his education degree from Wilmington Universities, his master's in education from Temple University, and his bachelor's and master's degree from Cairn University.
Thank you, Ms. Pham. Would any panel member like to add or discuss David Thomas further? Okay. Thank you all. So in addition to these candidates, the mayor asked us to consider the current Board of Education members for nomination. We considered the extensive interview and vetting process each board member underwent 2 years ago, both by the nominating panel as well as the mayor's office. We also considered the incredible work that the Board of Education has already done in the past 2 years, and we balanced the need for continuity and leadership for the school district. Ultimately, we have decided to put forth the names of the current school Board of Education members who would like to be renominated as nominees to the Board of Education, and those members include Julia Danzy, Leticia Ahia Hinton, Mallory Fix-Lopez, Lee Wang, Maria McColgan, Chris McGinley, Angela McIver, and Joyce Wilkerson. Would any panel member like to discuss the current Board of Education members? Okay, we now are at our period for public comment. It is my understanding that we have 2 members who have signed up for public comment. Is that correct? Very good. Very good. All right. So we will follow the usual rules of public comment. Each public commenter will have 3 minutes to make their statement, and I will first call Carol Klumnik. Right there.
Good afternoon. My name's Carol Klumnik. I'm a retired teacher, a co-founder of the Alliance for Philadelphia Public Schools, and a graduate of the Philadelphia School District. 2 years ago, I stood in front of you testifying about the flawed process. The litany of issues has only increased. Virtually no public notification, as you can see, by who's not here, no posted agenda, and now no list of candidates has been made public. You've met behind closed doors to make decisions about government officials. These are not personnel issues, as no one is being hired. This haphazard process stumbles along with zero transparency. These 9 people selected by the mayor will be in charge of a $3 billion budget. They are accountable to the people of Philadelphia. If this was an elected school board, every candidate would have revealed their background, their beliefs, and their potential conflicts of interest, instead of being introduced as someone's choice. Hearings need to be held at a convenient time with adequate notification so the public can participate. Your actions mirror the undemocratic maneuverings playing out on the national level. It's a disgrace, and I cannot believe that you had no list to give to people coming today or to post online of the candidates that you outlined. It's very hard to figure out how to spell people's names and to capture everything that you're saying. I really cannot believe that this nominating panel had the audacity to not submit a list to the public of candidates. There are only 50 this time, not the 500 from 2 years ago. So it's really incomprehensible how that occurred. And I think it's something you really need to take to heart and start examining so that it changes.
Thank you. The panel will now recognize Lisa Haver for comment.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Haver. Lived in Philadelphia all my life. Have never had the right to vote for anybody on my school board because I live in Philadelphia, the birthplace of democracy. Excuse me. Many Americans, including the people of this city, are concerned about the state of our democracy. We watch as our constitutional rights are eroded by the actions of one man, but we are fighting to maintain the rule of law. This body, appointed by the mayor to choose those appointed to the Public Board of Education, violates the letter and the spirit of the law that says all government action must be conducted in the open, where citizens have the opportunity to see what their government is doing and to participate in that. Cross the bridge to New Jersey, drive into the surrounding counties, you will be in a school district in which people, as American citizens, vote for their school boards. But those who live in the birthplace of American democracy continue to be disenfranchised. One person will make the final decision about who should serve for 4 years overseeing a $3 billion budget and making decisions about the present and future of our children's education. At the first meeting of the present board in July 2018, each member took a couple of minutes to speak about their views on education and government. In school districts where citizens are not disenfranchised, the voters get to know that before government officials take power. School boards and school board members in every district in the state are accountable to the people of that district. That includes Philadelphia. No matter who appoints them or who confirms them, they are accountable to the people. The people of Philadelphia, including the stakeholders of this district, have been shut out of this entire process. This nominating Politburo has violated the law by holding secret meetings. The Pennsylvania Sunshine Act states clearly that the people must be able to witness what their government is doing and have a say in their decisions. The nominating panel is a governmental body. They have ignored their obligation to follow the law. We live in a democracy. We do not believe in one-person rule. The people who have fought for local control over public schools never asked for one-person control. The mayor has selected the members of the nominating panel and will select the members of the school board without hearing from the public. APS will continue to fight against the disenfranchisement of the people of Philadelphia and for an elected school board. Until then, we must make sure that board members serve the people and not just one person. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Would any panel member like to nominate any other candidate for our consideration today? Okay, so I want to ask if anyone is recused. We've already discussed that. Okay, so the chair is now going to entertain a motion concerning the closing of nominations. I would like to recognize Sean Vereen.
Thank you. I move that nominations for the potential members of the Board of Education be closed.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Maura McCarthy.
I second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor of closing the nominations say aye. Aye. Opposed? Opposed? The ayes have it, and nominations are now closed. The next order of business for the panel will be the vote on the candidates who have been put forth as potential nominees. At this time, I would like to recognize Sean Vereen, Vice Chair of the panel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Valerie Adams Bass.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Ivy Olish.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Valerie Adams Bass say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that Valerie Adams Bass is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. I would like to recognize Darren Mangum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Amin Akbar.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Peter Gonzalez.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Amin Akbar say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that Amin Akbar is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. I would like to recognize Kimberly Pham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Sarah Ashley Andrews.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Mike Mullins.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Good. Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Sarah Ashley Andrews say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that Sarah Ashley Andrews is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. And I would like to recognize Sean Vereen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the panel to nominate Dawn Eng.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Maura McCarthy.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Dawn Eng say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that Dawn Eng is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. And I would like to recognize Mike Mullins.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Dario Below.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Ivy Olish.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Dario Below say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that Dario Below is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. And I would like to recognize Darren Mangum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Allison Cohen.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Peter Gonzalez.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Allison Cohen, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that Allison Cohen is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. I'd like to recognize Kimberly Pham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Susan DeJarnett.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Mike Mullins.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Susan DeJarnett, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that Susan DeJarnett is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. And I would like to recognize Maura McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate A.J. Ernst.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Sean Vereen.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating A.J. Ernst, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that A.J. Ernst is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. I'd like to recognize Peter Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move for the panel to nominate Cindy Farlino.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Ivy Olish.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Cindy Farlino, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, I note that Cindy Farlino is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. And I would like to recognize Darren Mangum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Cheryl Harper.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Peter Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Cheryl Harper, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, I note that Cheryl Harper is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. I would like to recognize Kimberly Pham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Trey Johnson.
Is anyone recused? Yes. Mr. Vereen will be recusing. Thank you. The chair recognizes Mike Mullins.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Trey Johnson, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The one recusal. Hearing no opposition, I note that Trey Johnson is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. And I would like to recognize Maura McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Gavin Kenney.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Sean Vereen.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Gavin Kenney, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that Gavin Kenney is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. I would like to recognize Ivy Olish.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Chad Lassiter.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Maura McCarthy.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Chad Lassiter, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, I note that Chad Lassiter is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. I would like to recognize Darren Mangum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Donna Laws.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Peter Gonzalez.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Donna Laws, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that Donna Laws is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. And I would like to recognize Mike Mullins.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Nina Liu.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Kimberly Pham.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Nina Liu, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that Nina Liu is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. I would like to recognize Sean Vereen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the panel nominate Rosabelle Maria.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Maura McCarthy.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Rosabelle Maria, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that Rosabelle Maria is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. I'd like to recognize Mike Mullins.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate William Peebles.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Ivy Olish.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating William Peebles, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that William Peebles is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. I'd like to recognize Darren Mangum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate Andrew Stober.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Peter Gonzalez.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating Andrew Stober, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that Andrew Stober is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel, and I would like to recognize Kimberly Pham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for the panel to nominate David Thomas.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Mike Mullins.
Thanks. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating David Thomas, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that David Thomas is hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel, and I would like to recognize Sean Vereen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the panel to nominate the sitting members of the Board of Education: Julia Danzy, Letitia Iga Hinton, Mallory Fix-Lopez, Lee Huang, Maria McCollin, Chris McGinley, Angela McIver, Joyce Wilkerson.
Thank you. I now recognize Ivy Olish.
Thank you. I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of nominating the sitting board members of the Board of Education, again, they are Julia Danzy, Leticia Ahia Hinton, Mallory Fix-Lopez, Lee Wong, Maria McColgan, Chris McGinley, Angela McIver, Joyce Wilkerson. Any, say aye. 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 Any opposed? Hearing none, I note that the sitting members of the Board of Education are hereby nominated by the Educational Nominating Panel. So, I want to thank you all for the time and care that you've devoted to this process. As the law required, it was a very quick process, and I appreciate all of you devoting your additional time, given how busy you all are, to reviewing and interviewing candidates and considering candidates. We all agreed on Saturday that while it might not have been the thing that we would have chosen to spend our Saturday on, though some of you might have, it was a really rewarding experience where we met a lot of wonderful Philadelphians who were deeply committed to education, as I know all the panel members here are, and it was a very meaningful thing, and we're really appreciative of all of the people who were willing not only to give up their Saturdays, but more importantly, willing to give up the time that it takes to be a board member. So I know on behalf of all of you, I want to thank all of our community for that process. We also want to thank, I know I can do this on behalf of everybody on the committee, Christina Hernandez, our Assistant Secretary, for all of her work. We thank you very much. And we also ask you to prepare the list of nominees who were just voted on to deliver to the mayor on behalf of the Educational Nominating Panel. Would anybody like to share anything before we conclude our business for today? Very good. Thank you. The meeting is now adjourned.